how do you monetize that fans better? How do you capture a greater share of wallet from those fans? Likewise, there are fans who never come to your stadium, but they are loyal fans. They just may not live in the vicinity. How do you capture a greater share of wallet? That's where strategies like games and gamification truly come into play, is get them to your D2C platforms daily, capture their data, learn more about who they are, and then over time, target them with specific packages. So there are many ways to monetize, and gamifications and games and engagement can really lead to that monetization strategy. That's another thing, is like, it's not just about advertising revenue anymore. It's not about media rights revenue anymore. There's many other ways to do this.
And I think, going back to one of your earlier questions about how do investors look at properties, they look for growth lines of income. And even if those lines are quite small for now, the idea that you're building growth lines of income that diversify your risk, you're not all about getting one media rights check. I think that's important as you build valuation.
And there's a question coming from Tom Bowers that I'd like to answer, which is, how do you ensure that these fan engagement tools are accessible by all clubs and teams with a varying array of budgets and stadium infrastructures? And I would say that that is our insights from a tech vendor perspective. Is it's still an emerging space, and there's, we're only seeing the tip of the iceberg for the moment. Like, what has been done in the sports industry is so behind what other entities have actually developed. So I would say, whether it's us, whether it's other organizations in the space, people are willing to over-index if we are able to build good use cases and say, hey, we are looking to help organizations tie that entire journey between on digital platforms, in venue, in stadium, on the jumbotron of the screen. We are looking to work with organizations that have appetite to use the technology well, as much as other organizations who actually want to spend the big dollars that we need, of course, as an organization, as a startup. But I would say, don't be shy on asking the vendors. I'm doing a lot, because there is appetite in our space currently to build what Peter was just explaining, right? It is because organizations were able to invest on data acquisition that afterwards the targeting element, the segmentation element was the value, and the sales becomes easy, versus it is probably very complicated right now for a sales rep in a club to go sell almost exactly the same package as he was selling 10 years ago to a PepsiCo or whatever sponsor they're looking to bring to the table.
There's a lot of questions that are coming in here. I don't think we have the time today to get through all of them, but I'm hoping that we'll find a way to answer those questions. We can obviously reach out to Sam, me, or Peter directly as well. But one question that I did like, which is actually, maybe Peter, you might have a good way to answer, is what are the main differences? It's from Lars Kaiser. What are the main differences that on one side, leagues with a permanent all year round product, and on the other side, major global events like Olympics and FIFA World Cup that happen once every few years, face when looking into gamification and building loyalty with their fan base?
Yeah, it's a good question, because it clearly is a different tactic, right? And I love what FIFA have tried to do with FIFA Plus, and Olympics have clearly tried to have a more year-round presence with things like the Olympic Channel. But fundamentally, you're going to get a massive amount of people come in and care a lot at the time of that big event. And turning that into a loyalty program is a different sort of challenge. But that intense activity of 2 weeks or a month's activity, is still long enough to build something that becomes a habit daily or multiple times a day. And I think that sense of I'm using my time sensibly because I'm progressing up a leaderboard, I'm getting some rewards, I'm getting some benefit out of this time I'm spending, I think helps justify people to watch longer and to care more. And therefore, though the challenge and the mechanics of a year-round event compared to a short-term event is very different, your fundamental ability to do something with that audience is still there. And I think, again, give them something that allows them to authentically feel like they're part of the event and they're creating as part of the event. That one of the great strands, I think, of content over the next few years is going to be seeing fans create more, using assets that leagues and teams give them to create their own content, seeing athletes publish more. So the sort of huge breadth of publishing content is going to get even bigger and bigger. Your challenge as a league and team is putting an umbrella over that and saying, okay, how do we capture that data and find a way of monetizing that data? And again, I stress that for me, you work with your players. It's not just about team accounts or league accounts. It's trying to bring the players into that structure as well. They are your biggest emotional hook.